Thank you for being here. It's, I was looking at the calendar and it's hard to believe. It is the, 17th of September or whatever today is. 18th, see? Time goes by really quick. And we are in the midst of the fall semester and a lot of exciting things are happening on campus, a lot of new things, a lot of new people. But he's a veteran now. It's our 12th president of Missouri State. So, Dr. Williams, if you please give a welcome and give an update. I know a lot of things are happening with long-range plan and strategic plan, but please welcome our president, Biff Williams.
Well, good afternoon. It's great to be here with you. This is something I'm looking forward to. As I've gone around on my listening tours, I've met so many wonderful faculty and staff, and it's just so fun to see the value resource that we have in personnel on our campus. Just give you a brief update. As you know, the students are alive and well, and they're on our campus. It's brought a great energy back to our campus. It's been fun to see them. And Kristen and I have had several groups of students over to our home to have dinner, and our neighbors have let us know that they realize that we have a lot of people over our house. That they are very good to us. But we had this week we'll have over 100 students at our house, and so we have it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and so Terry is feeding me breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which I appreciate, but my scale at home does not. But I just want to share with you a couple of things that are happening. The fall sports are alive and well. We have our family weekend next weekend. We hope that you'll come and celebrate with us. We had our first home football game. I think the highlight was the win, but also the highlight was the Pride Band. Our Pride Band has close to 400 members this fall. They are really, really good. It's exciting to see them. We've also had mini volleyball, soccer. We also had our first hosted cross-country meet, which we came out with a win. So there are a lot of things that are happening. We hired Patrick Ransdell as our new athletic director. We did a national search there. We'll also be starting a national search for our provost position. Provost John Jasinski has announced his intent to retire here at the end of the year. So we'll be doing a search here shortly. We have started our launch of our strategic plan as well. Many of you probably received an email asking you to come to a town hall. We hope that you will do that. This is going to be a plan that's our plan, and it's going to map out what we want to do at the university for the next 5 years. And so we want to make sure that we have our faculty, staff, students, alumni, stakeholders, business leaders, community members all involved in that planning process. Last thing I'll share with you is we're heading out tomorrow to West Plains to have the foundation board meeting. We're excited for what they're doing there. They're up about a couple of percent. So everything's going really well in West Plains, as well as here on the Springfield campus. So once again, welcome. We're excited that you're here to share with us and celebrating our wonderful faculty. Thank you.
There is a date that we'd like for you to put on your calendars. I know we're being joined online by several other people, but it is October 17th. So 17th and the 18th and 19th, that's homecoming week. So that's a Thursday. And I know we have all kinds of boards and people, alumni from around the country and the world actually coming back. But at 4 o'clock on that Thursday is the inauguration of the 12th president. And we've not had, in the history of the university, sometimes we have inaugurations, sometimes we don't, depending on situations. But the last time was Dr. Kaiser when we had the inauguration at Juanita K. And so we will be having an inauguration that everybody is invited to at Juanita K. Hammonds Hall, 4 o'clock. And it is a time of celebration where Dr. Williams will actually get the chain of command that will be presented to him. The Board of Governors obviously will be there, but entertainment. It's really a neat program. The Women's Chorus of Missouri State will be performing along with the Missouri State Symphony, which we have not had that in quite some time. And they're actually going to do 2 or 3 performances And so it'll be a special hour. And so please put that down on your calendars. We'd love to have you at Juanita K. Of course, that just the starts of many things. The alumni board meets on Friday, the foundation board on Thursday, the board of governors on Friday. Everything culminates on Saturday. We have the parade at 9 in the morning, and then of course the football game that afternoon. So I hope you can come to that. But today is our lunch with a genius, and we have a lot of geniuses on the campus of Missouri State University. And our genius today, Dr. Jana Ault-Phillips. So come on up and welcome her. And so really a unique background with Jana. She has a law degree from WashU. She has her MBA from Missouri State University. She's a certified financial planner. She's done just about everything. She worked at O'Reilly Automotive because I think you dealt with real estate there as O'Reilly has lots of stores around the world now. But let's start from the very beginning and tell us where you grew up first.
Okay, start with.
I think it is on.
Okay. So I grew up in a very small community called Rockbridge, which you may be aware of the one near Columbia, but this one is a different one. It's in Ozark County, and so there were about 12 of us there, and I was related to 10 of them. So I couldn't get away with much. Went to school in Gainesville and K through 12, so that was always a lot of fun to know everything about everybody. Then came to MSU and worked SMS at the time. Have a finance degree, and then went on to WashU with everything else that you've already covered.
So when you were growing up, I mean, what did you want to do?
Oh, I wanted to be a doctor.
A doctor,
Of course.
a medical doctor.
Yes.
So what happened there?
Organic chemistry. As simple as that.
So what grade did you get?
Not
Okay. Okay.
Chemistry.
Okay. So, well, that's interesting. You go from a doctor, and this was in what grade when you were saying, I want to be a doctor?
As long as I can remember.
Really, really. And so then you said, nah, I'll be an attorney?
No. I said, okay, what can I do that I never have to take chemistry again? And so I looked at the business curriculum, and there was no chemistry. And but no, business always fascinated me because my family were business people. They were entrepreneurs. They started their own business and were very successful at it. So that's kind of the environment that I grew up in. And so I like numbers. I was good at math, not chemistry, math, and so it was my good fit. And so finance sounded good. I enjoyed it. But graduated and thought, I have no clue what I want to do. And so you just keep going to school.
Yeah, but your talents come out, in elementary school. And so let's go back to elementary school. You said you're good with numbers, but what were the other things you said, man, this is fun? I mean, did you get real good marks in math?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It just made sense to you.
Sure. Very, very logical brain. Enjoy puzzles. Enjoy working through problems and figuring out solutions. And I think that definitely was a natural fit for a career in law. So I think I was always probably headed in this direction, but just didn't see it until I got there.
Yeah. So law is a big encompassing area. So did you say real estate law or contracts or did you say, hey, I want to go in estate planning?
I had an intro to estate planning class as part of my curriculum at at school. And Art Hazeltine was the professor for that class. And that really clicked with me as far as being able to combine something where you get to work with people and numbers. And so that kind of started me on the path. And then real estate was just an additional area of interest that I've always had. And luckily, the first law firm that I worked at was large enough that they had departments that specialized in both. And so I was able to focus on that, those areas of law that I knew I would enjoy.
So how did you decide upon SMS at the time?
I'm from this area, that was just a given.
So you knew you were going to SMS?
Sure. I've never applied anyplace else.
So tell us about the O'Reilly experience. So after you graduated from WashU, then where'd you go?
So then I went to Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
My first law job was at a large firm that had offices in Louisville, Kentucky, and across the river in Indiana. We lived on the Indiana side, but I worked on the Louisville side. And so I was there for about 6 years. And like I said, they were large enough that I was able to specialize in both estate planning and real estate. So I worked with a lot of real estate developers, a lot of shopping centers and national retail chains, Barnes and Noble, that kind of thing. So I got a lot of good experience through that, as well as doing the estate planning and just working with individuals. But then we came back to Missouri, and I practiced at Johnson, and I did both real estate and estate planning there too. And then the job at O'Reilly's came open. I wasn't looking for something else, but man, it was spot on for some things that I knew I would really enjoy, which was being able to really zero in on the real estate development and focus on nationwide contracts and taking a project from beginning to end and being able to focus on one client instead of 30. And so it was good to pass up.
So that had to have been a really neat time, because O'Reilly Automotive is the only Fortune 500 company in Springfield, I believe. But the growth of that is just phenomenal. And so were you involved in the expansion of, now they're what, I think in all 50 states? And
not quite, but they're close.
Pretty close, in a few countries.
Yes,
as well.
Yes, they're in Mexico and Canada now.
So did you just do the contracts, or did you actually go, did you travel to those properties?
I didn't travel too much. If I had to travel, there was a problem. If I was doing,
the attorney shows up.
If everything's going well, then I could stay put. One time that I did have to travel, we had torn down an old store. We were going to put up a new one, and as they were digging for the new foundation, they dug up human remains.
Well, that's always a problem.
That's Paul that you don't expect and really would prefer not to have. But it ended up, it was in Tennessee. It ended up that they had uncovered an old slave cemetery that was next to an existing cemetery, and it had just expanded beyond what they thought the boundaries were. And so I had to go visit the site. We had somebody from the college that had one of those ground penetrating radar machines that they ran over to see how far the graves went and so on. And long story short, we ended up donating the entire property to the, I can't remember what the exact charity was, but there obviously it wasn't anything that we would ever be able to make any use of, and it just made sense to turn it over to somebody else. But never a dull moment when you're working for a company that big and you're involved in taking a project from finding the property through the contracts, through the acquisition, through the rezonings, through the construction and the permitting and so on to getting it open. And that was just fascinating. I enjoyed it.
So, you worked for a large company. You have the mic. You want to do batteries? Do you want to speak here? We could. Technical. No.
Hello?
Yeah, there you go. We may have to throw that. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Can you hear better? Is that better?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do I need to rewind?
Yeah, no. So you started it? No. So what was it? Thank you. What was it that you said, well, I'd rather teach? And what prompted that?
Well, I think I was probably always headed in that direction as well. Both of my parents were teachers, and I've always enjoyed learning, and you never learn more than when you have to teach. So working at O'Reilly's was a tremendous opportunity and a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. But as you said, they were growing, and it was a very demanding job. I had 2 small children. My husband traveled with his career, and so I was basically a single parent, and that was not a good combination. So I made the decision that family came first, and so I stayed home for about a year, and then I made the decision that can't do this all day, every day. It's better than it was, but I need a balance. So I contacted one of my old professors from my undergraduate days at Missouri State, who actually is one of my co-workers now. She's still there, Carol Miller. Yeah. And I said, hey, you looking for any law faculty for any reason? And she said, I want to go on sabbatical, and they'll let me go if I can find somebody to take over my classes. So very serendipitous. And so lo and behold, I get a part-time position, and did that for about 8 years. But again, just the opportunity to share my experience, my education, my skills with the next generation in both of the topics that I enjoyed, business law, real estate law at the time, and then expanding that onto estate planning and finance. It was just meant to be.
And so what do you get out of teaching that really says, yeah, this is really, really cool? What is it compared to private business?
Well, I want to say that they're happy to see you, unlike sometimes your clients when you're involved in law, but I can't say that with all of the students. Some are happier than others. No, it's, I mean, as most people that teach will tell you, it's those light bulb moments. I mean, that really is as cliche as it sounds. That is what makes it worthwhile. Yeah. Is when you see that. I mean, it almost is like a physical light bulb that you see in their face and their eyes that they get it, and especially when they've really been trying hard to play a role in that. And mine is a very small role, I realize, in their college career, but to play a role in that is as good as it gets.
Tell us what you teach.
I have taught 6 different classes, 2 or 3 different iterations of various levels of business law, and then real estate law, a finance class, and an estate planning class.
So let's talk about estate planning. And I know you're involved in with other professionals in the Greene County Estate Planning Council meeting, which we have a meeting tonight on that. But we have seminars here for our alumni and friends about estate planning. But it seems like every time we go through that, it's amazing the number of people that don't have an estate plan. I mean, tell us your experience with that.
Sure, everybody needs one, and I take the opportunity to even tell my college students that you don't think you're ever going to die, but you will, and it'll come at a very inopportune moment, whenever that moment is. And the more you can do to make that less traumatic for your family, the better off you'll be. But it's something that everybody needs to do at every stage of their life. But who wants to think about it? And who wants to talk about it? And who wants to make those very difficult decisions that, especially as your lives and your families get more complex, that you must do to make it right? People don't want to do it. And I totally get that. And so, you know, good financial planners, good estate planners, one of the hardest parts of your job, but one of the most important parts of your job, is to get people to recognize the need and the value, and then help them along to actually accomplish what everybody should be doing.
And it doesn't matter how much money
Oh no,
you have, or any money that you have.
No.
You still need to have one of those.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the number of people, Prince, if you remember, who passed away for how long ago, the artist Prince, I mean, he didn't have a financial estate plan.
Right, and he actually is one of these scenarios or situations that I talk about in my estate planning class. Prince, Aretha Franklin was another one that was a big deal. She actually hand wrote her own wills, plural. At her death, they found 3 handwritten wills. 2 of them were stuffed under the couch cushions. And so that's a very interesting situation that, you know, she recognized that she needed to do an estate plan, but for whatever reason felt she was better equipped to do it herself as, you know, a professional singer. That goes hand in hand. But
those don't count.
No, they do.
They do count.
They do. It depends, but I think she was a resident of Michigan, and they recognized them. Of course, there was some litigation, and it went on forever, and the attorneys love it. It's a great job security for attorneys. The more messed up people get things, but yeah, it finally got resolved.
Do we have enough students going into that profession, or is that profession filled pretty good now, or is that one that, man, we got to have more and more?
Well, what we do need more of, and something that I've become very involved in the last year, is the financial planning profession per se. Not so much attorneys doing just the estate planning component of it. It's the people that have, you know, bachelor's or master's degrees that will do the financial planning part, and that is a very, very fast growing, very fascinating. It's not a profession yet, which is one of the things that makes it interesting, but also challenging. It's a career that people are beginning to recognize. It needs to become a profession, and it needs to have, and I'm embarrassed to say, a little regulation. I'm not a big fan of regulation, but it needs a little bit that it hasn't had in the past. But we're working on that. And we're starting to get the word out to the students that have already have an interest in finance but aren't really sure what to do with that. That this is a great opportunity to combine that interest in finance with also hopefully an interest in working directly with people and helping them achieve those kinds of family goals and financial and personal goals that everybody needs to do. And the, I can't remember the exact demographics, but the people that are doing financial planning right now, the average age is over 60. And the people that, of course, need to be doing it need to be younger than that. So there's a huge market for it. I think the future looks very bright for that career path, but it just isn't something that people are that familiar with. So we're working on that.
And you don't have to be an attorney,
Oh, no, no.
but it helps.
Sure, but also you want your financial planner to be kind of the captain of a team that would include an attorney, but sometimes the attorneys are too focused on one element of an entire financial plan. And so the certified financial planners, which is what hopefully is where this industry is headed, they are the ones that are going to be looking at the big picture of all of the different things that would impact a person or a couple's financial well-being, and they would use an attorney when needed, but not the attorney would only be taking care of one component of it, but not really putting all of the pieces together, which is one of the things I think that's a lot of fun about doing the full financial plan.
I know we do, as a foundation, present plan giving seminars. I think we got one, Carl, coming up in October 2nd. So this is a commercial timeout. So if you're interested in attending that on October 2nd, this room, those are important. No, we have one of your students, Kelly Segal. Why don't you come on up, Kelly? We're gonna, I don't know if this is a surprise to you or not, but Kelly, we're gonna give you that mic. Introduce yourself. Yeah, get that. Oh yeah, you gotta get that close. But tell us where you're from, what year, and your major.
So I am from the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. If you've heard of Batavia, probably not, but near the Naperville area, Aurora. But I am in my graduate year, so I did my accelerated MBA last year, and I'm finishing up this year. So I'm super excited. I get to work with Dr. Phillips as a GA in the firm department. So it's been a start of the year. I swam for the university for 4 years, and then this is kind of my first year being an actual student and not swimming on the side. So
you were very successful in swimming.
Thank you.
As y'all won
yes.
every year, I think, right?
Yes, I was very lucky to be part of such a successful team, and it really, I mean, it's not just me. There's a lot of motivation, especially in the past couple of years, just with our conference changes. I mean, I was just so lucky to be part of such a great group of girls and to have that type of motivation. And yeah, I mean, I was so lucky. So yeah, this year I get a little different perspective. I get to be on the cheering sidelines, which will be fun. If you see me at a meet, I will be there, probably behind the blocks, but not swimming. So
that's bad, right? So tell us what classes did you have? Or I assume you had classes.
I did.
Yeah.
So actually 5 years ago, I had my first class with Dr. Phillips, Law 231. It was kind of in the middle of COVID, so you probably didn't recognize me because I had a mask on the whole time. But I did have Dr. Phillips my freshman year, and then I had her last year for estate planning. So yeah.
So what are your your career goals then?
Yeah, so I'm actually in the financial planning program as well. I just graduated with my bachelor's in May. And so I've had a couple internships with financial planners, Forbes and Plamaran, which is an accounting firm. And so I've got to see a whole bunch of professionals and different practices. And I'm so lucky to have been able to been working with Dr. Phillips, been working with other CFPs, and just being able to shadow their work and also be able to take on my own projects has been super helpful. And just seeing Dr. Phillips is also head of the FBA Association at Missouri State. And so seeing how she's connected with all the CFPs in the area has been super cool and super amazing how much the community comes out and supports the students and also aspiring CFPs.
So what was it that you said, hey, I want to do this?
So it actually was kind of circumstantial. So I always knew I wanted to be business, and I knew I wanted to be in finance in some degree. And so I had my parents who were both finance majors, but they were more corporate investments, risk management. And so I kind of didn't really know where I wanted to start at, but I took my first financial planning course, and I realized I just loved being able to interact with people and kind of work with them towards their goals and be able to assist them in any way that I can. That really was a super big interest for me. And so I told my advisor I'm going to switch my focus to financial planning, and I've stuck with it ever since. I've loved it.
So you were always good in math as well?
I was a big numbers girl, yes.
Balance my checkbook for me?
They don't do that.
They don't do that anymore. Do you know what a checkbook is? Let's start with a check. You ever written a check?
I
Yeah.
can't put that on my resume.
Oh my gosh. I'm really. What are things, if you can think of one or two things that inspired you or you learned from Jana?
I mean, there's just so many to count. I mean, I don't even think she realizes how amazing she teaches her classes. The way she interacts with students in a way that she cares about you understanding the material instead of just like a memorization sort of tool. And so I remember my first year, I was just super nervous going into my first law class. I had no idea what to expect. I mean, law just seemed like such a scary word at first, but being able to work with her and also get to learn so much, the opportunity to prepare before class because I didn't know what to expect going in there. It set me up so well. And then estate planning, I got to see a different side too, where we were working together. I'd come up to her with materials in the book that I wasn't sure of because estate planning can get pretty in the weeds, but yeah, and then being able to see it from a different perspective, working with estate planning in my internships and having that background knowledge and being able to kind of collaborate on what I could probably add to like the curriculum. So whatever I learned this internship, if there's something that's helpful for other students, she wanted that feedback, she wanted that input, and I just think that's you don't see that with every professor. So I learned a lot.
So do you want to go back to Chicago or you want to stick around here?
So I have always been wanting to go back. I have stayed pretty much every summer except for last summer in Springfield, and just being away from my family and my friends has been a little hard, but I mean, Springfield has always been so welcoming, and I always say, like, these are your friendliest people you'll ever meet. And so whenever my family visits, they know they're going to get the Southern-ish hospitality. I don't know if we're technically Southern, but they definitely can see a change from the Chicagos.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Well, congratulations to you. And I know you've got to be proud to have students like Kelly that come out of the program that were inspired by faculty, and we're glad, obviously having an athlete, you're disciplined. What time did you start? Did you go to school early?
Well, freshman year it was 5:30 a.m.
Yeah.
But they got nicer over the years, so 6 o'clock.
Real nice, yeah. But I know you're disciplined, and I know you make us all proud, and I know you're still part of the Bear family for the rest of your entire life. So wherever you are, remember today, and remember that the importance of what faculty do to inspire you. But thank you, Kelly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I'm so lucky for all the support along the way. So thank you.
Oh, good, thanks. Yeah, let's get Kelly. So we do have some pictures we're going to show, as we normally do in this segment, just for you to give a little personal part of your history. And I don't know if the other screens can go up or not with the pictures.
So because of the issues, they are turned off. These screens over here, it's behind you. Though.
Okay, so we're going to have to turn around here. Sorry. Tell us this picture.
Oh, that's such a vision of relief. Completing that law school phase of my life. But yeah, that's after graduation and just one of the happier moments for sure.
Oh, yeah, and that wasn't that long ago. Yeah, there's some other screens are up. Okay, let's go to the next picture. Yeah. There we go. There's one. There we go. Okay.
Okay, so that previous picture was May 18th. That was a Friday. So this picture, 1990, that was May 20th. So I graduated from law school in St. Louis on Friday. And on Sunday, May 20th, we got married in Rockridge, at Rockridge.
Oh, wow.
And then the next day I drove to Kentucky and started studying for the bar.
Oh, geez.
Wonderful honeymoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's our wedding. That's at my grandparents' trout fishing resort, Rockridge. And then on our 30th anniversary, to the day,
Yeah.
same wedding dress. Yes, I'm going to brag. Same wedding dress. We recreated the picture 30 years later.
Awesome. Let's go to that next one. That's a good picture.
So started our family when we lived in Indiana. Have our son Lucas and our daughter Sydney. And then as families do, they grow and expand. And so our son is married to our wonderful daughter-in-law Chelsea, and our daughter Sydney is married to our wonderful son-in-law John.
Mm-hmm. Good. Next one. Wow.
Yeah, that's where I like to spend my days.
That's your hobby.
Yeah, that's one of my hobbies, and of course it was also my first job. Worked at my grandparents' trout fishing resort, of course, most of my young adult life, and doing everything and anything from washing dishes to cleaning trout. But yeah, every chance I get, I like to go back.
We should have had you cater today. Let's go to the next one.
Another hobby was haven't done much the last couple of years, but trail running is another hobby of mine, and I like the ultra distance. And I've done 3 at 50 miles each. That was my longest.
That Biff and Kristen like to do back there, so you guys got another runner there.
Athlete. So that's what's left of me after 50 miles.
Good.
All right. My husband and I love to travel, and so we went to Iceland, and that was actually part of when I was working on my master's, which wasn't that long ago. Try going back to school after 30 years. A lot has changed. One of the study abroad opportunities through my master's program was a marketing class, and they were going to Iceland. So I was a student, which was lots of fun, and my husband went along, and there were 6 or 8 other students on the trip as well. But yeah, we got to explore Iceland and rode a snowmobile on a glacier and hung out in the hot springs, and it was awesome.
All right, go on.
And my mother and my daughter and I went with a group to Ireland, and that was in June of 2022. And then my mom passed away in October. So
Yeah.
a lot of good memories.
Cliffs of Water, New York. Okay. Next one.
And then this summer,
Wow.
we went on a river cruise on the Rhine River and traveled from Amsterdam to Switzerland.
Mm.
So that was really a lot of fun.
Yep. All right.
And this is the crew. Rockridge just celebrated their 70th anniversary. So if you've ever been, if you haven't, you really need to go. But we were down there for their anniversary celebration and got a picture of the group.
Very good. Uh-oh, there we go.
What more can you say?
There you go. That's what it's about.
We've had, we will have 4 grandchildren in 2 years. So our daughter and son-in-law have Boston, and then to be determined in March is coming up. And then our son and daughter-in-law have Colt, and Reese was just born in June.
And they're all going to Missouri State?
Of course.
Yeah. We'll sign them up now. Very good. Good pictures. Okay, now as normally we go to a lightning round. Whatever pops in your mind, you just say. You don't have long to think about it, and then we'll open it up to questions. Okay. Fall, winter, spring, or summer?
Fall.
No, that's not an answer.
Well, that's an attorney answer.
Okay, that's fair. Books or movies?
Books.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Oh,
What an attorney. Good. Favorite food? All?
Fruit.
Fruit, really? Oh, very healthy. A good party or just quiet time?
Oh, quiet.
Country music or classical music?
Ah, man, it just depends on the mood. They're so different.
Well, you're good at
I'd say
Yeah.
country more frequently, yeah.
Okay. Favorite place on campus?
Ooh, favorite, the fountain.
Yeah, okay, at the library, the fountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My then boyfriend, now husband, dared me to get in it when we were undergrads. Of
And did you?
course.
Yeah. Okay. So you started the tradition.
Yeah, fond memories.
Yeah, or not. You didn't get in trouble. No, okay. Here's a hard one. Law or finance?
Um, hmm, law.
Oh, okay. Favorite vacation spot?
Oh, whichever one's coming up next.
That's a good one. Pet peeve?
Noise.
Noise. Okay. I wonder you like quiet time. Okay, now let's open up to other questions, either online or in the group. Yes.
Any suggestions on how to go about selecting a good financial advisor?
It's all about that personality match. It really, I mean, they're all gonna have the same skill set and the same knowledge for the technical things that need to be done behind the scenes. But I think that you can't overemphasize having that communication that flows freely in both directions, and having that fit based on personalities and an awareness of what you really want. How do you measure that, or how do you find that? You just keep going until you do.
Good question. Good question. Others? Yes.
Is there an age or threshold at what point you suggest getting a financial planner?
No, I don't think so. I think everybody at all of the stages of adulthood, whenever that starts, has different needs for financial advice. And that's another thing about finding that financial advisor that can grow with you, and as your needs change, they can continue to provide you with worthwhile and useful advice. Even, if it's, how do you write a check?
Please don't laugh as you look at me.
I'm right there with you. I'm having to remember not to write in cursive because they don't read cursive. But it's being able to take you from, how do I create a budget? How do I buy my first home, to I'm ready to retire, and what's that look like? But the sooner you get that help, the better off you will be throughout each of those stages. So I think finding that fit with someone that's willing to work with you, even when you are just starting, which is another thing about the profession that I think hopefully is changing, is that the younger people that are getting involved in it are willing to work with younger people that don't necessarily have that much money to, quote, invest right now, but they're changing the fee methodology or the compensation methodology a lot. And there is a place now for fee only, or retainer, or hourly, or a one-time fee. And so even though you don't maybe have money to invest that they're going to continue to make commissions off of, they can still provide you with some really helpful advice for a one-time fee. And at the beginning, that may be what that relationship looks like. But then as you grow and your needs change, then that relationship can change.
Yes.
Are all the students of financial planning taught about estate issues too, so that they know what to recommend and suggest to people when?
Yeah, so that's the class that I teach, is an introduction to estate planning. And that gets pretty focused on not only the personal side of estate planning, but also the financial and tax side. But it's also an element of both of the financial planning courses that all of the financial planning majors have to take. They have an introductory financial planning, like a 300 level class, and then they have a professional financial planning as a 500 level class. And both of those have a component of the curriculum includes estate planning issues, doesn't get as technical and detailed as I do in a semester-long class. But sure, it's an unavoidable component of doing financial planning.
Others? Yes, Dr. Clark.
You often hear the statement, avoid probate. So do you agree with that? And if so, how do you go about it?
Yes, it should be avoided mainly because it's so simple to do, and I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it definitely has its downsides. And again, it is very simple to do, but it also, most lay people think that the best way to avoid probate is to co-own assets, to have joint owners with you on your assets so that it will automatically transfer. Yes, it will do that. But there are also a lot of minefields with co-ownership. You don't have control over how some other people would have access to that, such as creditors or in a divorce. So I definitely didn't recommend that as a sole means of avoiding probate. More of the like transfer on death designations, payable on death designations, which you can do for relatively small types of accounts or things like vehicles that have titles. The very best thing is a trust. And that's just the tried and true. You can do so many things within it beyond just avoiding probate. And a lot of people hear the word trust and they think, oh, I don't have near enough money to need or use a trust. Not relevant, not relevant. There are a lot of financial components of a trust, and there are a lot of things that we can do with them that have to do with having a large amount of money. But the most useful thing about trust is just having that plan in place that continues beyond you in a very seamless way without going through that probate process. But it really is the best.
Very good. Other questions? Yes.
You spoke to the distinction between there are a lot of careers, but financial planning should be a profession. A lot of credentials out there and so forth. Now, give me a little more color around the distinction there and what the profession would be.
Well, I think to me, a profession is when you hear about a doctor or even a CPA. I would like to see the financial planning career become a profession that is as recognizable as the designation of a CPA is today for people to associate with the accounting field. I would like to see the financial planning track get that same recognition because people recognize the value and the path that it takes to become a certified financial planner. And then I would like to see the people that are certified financial planners performing their services in such a way that people recognize the value of having that designation and being involved in that career and in that field in a way that's different than just everybody that can currently call themselves a financial advisor without any requirements to be able to do so. And so the hope is that that we get, again, I'm not a big fan of regulation, but I think there needs to be some path that somebody is requiring, so that you know when you're working with someone that has those designations, what you should be getting, and that they have fulfilled a certain level of requirements to get there, that puts them in the best position to give you the kind of advice that you're expecting from them. I just think right now that it's too broad with the different people that are involved in providing financial advice, and it runs the gamut from somebody that has absolutely no financial background whatsoever to somebody that has a master's and a CFP and a JD. And I just think the public needs more protection for knowing what they're getting. And I think we're headed in the right direction. I think we're getting there. It's going to take a while. It's in the scheme of professions. It's a really, really new one, but I think that we're headed in the right direction, but we have a long way to go. Does that address?
No, I think so. I guess the follow-up would be, does academia play a part in advancing that, I assume?
Definitely. You know, a university that has a financial planning track as a major is in the minority for sure. There's a few that have been around for quite a while that have a very robust program, but there are not that many universities across the country that have a designated program. So the thing that's unique about ours is this CFP board, the Certified Financial Planner Board, recognizes our program as meeting all of the requirements, the education requirements for somebody to take the Certified Financial Planner exam. So our graduates, when they come out of here with their degree, I send in a report that tells the CFPB board that they have met all of the education requirements to take that exam. And so creating an awareness of this as a career path, and hopefully a profession in the future, and then and exposing all of our students to that opportunity, and keeping them on the track to get to that designation is certainly a role that we will play. And eventually I think other universities that have a fairly robust College of Business will, although in a lot of universities, the financial planning program isn't part of the College of Business. In a lot of the universities, it's more of the like the social sciences is where I think Mizzou has it that way. Texas Tech may have it that way, but it fits in both. It really is a combination of both, because as I've mentioned many times, it's a relationship and communication skill building is very, very important too. So it could fit anywhere, but ours just happened to be in finance.
One more question. Yes.
Well, mine's a little bit of a comment, but I've straightened out estates a couple of times. I had a sister-in-law, great education, invested in properties, and I went through her files when she died. My wife's family is not real involved people, laid back, so I took care of everything. I sent everything I could find that looked like it might be legal to my trust attorney. And he called me and said, "This is all she has?" And I said, "That's all she has." He said, "She's going through probate." That's a lot of fun. She had a thing that said, "When I die," and she had it typed, but not notarized, nothing. And then another one that might be helpful in financial planning, I don't know how you look at this, but it's the end of life part of it. I'm in a group where the people are 60s, 70s, and early 80s. And after I found this particular lady before she died, the skilled care facility, I asked how many people in there had looked into skilled care facilities and what it takes to get there. And nobody raised their hand. I said, no, I'm very serious about this. Has not anybody in that group had ever looked into skilled care. They never looked into what happens at the end of life. What about your mental status? My wife is going to be going to see our neurologist in a couple of months, and one of the questions my trust attorney wants find out, is she still competent to sign documents? So that ending part of the financial planning is really, I don't know, you didn't mention it, but to me, that's a very serious part of financial planning is how do you handle that? How do you know when they're no longer capable? This same sister-in-law had been using the bank, and I know damn well they knew she wasn't competent. But she was still signing stuff. And she had no power of attorney. We got a power of attorney signed for my wife and her brother. And I will guarantee you in a court of law, the judge would have said, that doesn't prove anything. Her mind wasn't adequate to make such a decision. So it's that ending part that, you know, you talk about the beginning. And then another thing, I had a private work for me one time, a long time ago. And he said, sir, you know what? Anybody can invest 10% of what they make. He said, I don't care how little you make, you can invest 10% of it. And that's what you said about getting the financial statement. I'm just trying to reinforce, but I see this over my lifetime. But the thing that gets me is so many people don't have a clue. That's kind of why we live in the Valley of the Elves, Elfindale. You have a fixed community there to take care of problems, and my wife's memory is a problem, so she's got somebody to take care of her. So is that part of financial planning too? All that kind of end stuff.
Oh, sure, and that's one of the benefits of developing that relationship as early as possible, so that your financial planner or whoever it is that's advising you knows you and knows when you're getting to that point, when the time comes, that things are not the same and that you need to, and hopefully will have steered you in the right direction way before that to make sure everything is in place so that you don't have those issues.
It's really like, I think you put it as very simple to do. Our trust is set. We know who's back up, who's this, who's that. It's all written down. And who gets to be, you know, have power of attorney at which times.
Sure.
And it didn't cost that much. Most of it's boilerplate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, they have to put your name in there and stuff, but I mean, you know, it's all in there. So I would hope everybody is do that.
Right, at all stages of life.
Yeah.
Any age, 18 and up, as long as you're legal to sign it, you should have it.
And afterwards, Frank, Kelly, this is your first client, so we're gonna get started.
Oh, I already have. I even have. I'll pat my back. We have a file of fireproof situation in our home, and the words to be said at my funeral are already in there. Yeah. The songs to be played, the funeral's all arranged, all that stuff's done. And most people, again, in the group I'm in, nobody's doing that either. But you know, I don't see why anybody would want their children and grandchildren to come after you died and go, "What the hell do we do now?"
No, thank you for that. Dr. Jana Ault-Phillips, thank you for being here. Thank you. And we're so glad that you are our genius at Missouri State University. And so let's give her a round of applause. So we'll be back on a different subject. We're going to go from estate planning to volcanoes on November 20th. So we hope you come back and hopefully we will see you between now and then. Thank you for being here. Go Bears.